May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. So our gospel today that we just heard is a little long, and it covers a lot of ground, really. It's all over the place, and there's a lot in there, so much I'd really like to talk about, but in order to keep this from going all over the place and to get us to lunch, I thought I'd focus in on Peter today. St. Peter. The last words we hear in this gospel, that follow me, where Jesus says, follow me. This may be our ultimate task as Christians, right? To follow Jesus, follow that way of love, wherever it leads. And I think Peter today gives us a really good example of what following Christ and following love looks like. So Peter. So it's night. He's naked, and he's fishing. He's gone back to where he started. Only, really, it's not where he started, it's worse than where he started, because now, on top of kind of losing the greatest person he's ever known, he's got all this guilt. He's got all this shame. So he's at a dead end. And he doesn't know what else to do. He's naked. He has thrown away the disciple clothes that he was once so proud to wear. He's stripped down. He is laid bare. He's fishing in the dark. And this is the dark night of the soul. And he's coming up empty. It's like even his old profession, his old passion, doesn't bring him what it used to. Today in our church calendar, today is the third Sunday of Easter, so it's been over 2 weeks now since that awful Friday where Christ was handed over. And so maybe after 2 weeks, we have forgotten a little of how Peter behaved in the courtyard of the high priest, but you can be sure that Peter hasn't forgotten. News has gotten around. And Peter just can't get that headline out of his head. Lead disciple denies Jesus 3 times. Cowardice, apostasy, betrayal. This is running through his mind just kind of on repeat. It's all I can think about. And it can't be undone. He's that guy. If you know our beloved Irene Ryan, you might know some of her words of wisdom. Moan, groan, and move on. And it's like, how can Peter move on or go forward at this point when the person he wronged isn't even there anymore? Of course, Peter would go backwards, back to fishing. There's nothing else left. And so now he's there and he's trying to pull something, anything up that will feed him out of the sea on which he is adrift. But this is a gospel, right? That means it's good news, and it's not only that, it's an Easter gospel, which means it's really good news. In this story, the sun does come up. And then there, on that Easter morning, in the fresh morning light, there's Jesus on the beach. And once again, Peter dives in head first. It's like once again, he goes through the water of baptism and comes up clean. That was timely. I think like so many of us, Peter has gotten his whole relationship with Jesus kind of all mixed up and upside down. Because Peter thinks that it's all about him and his efforts. In his dark night of the soul, he's there, he's beaten himself up, and he's thinking that this radical love that comes from Jesus is somehow conditional. He thought wrongly that being lovable was dependent on his good behavior, and that there was some sort of like contractual agreement that these two had, where it's like, Peter, if you're always the very best disciple, of course I will love you, but if you deny me 3 times, all bets are off. He thinks that grace, this love from Jesus is something that he has earned, and therefore it can be lost. And the good news today is that when we follow this way of love that Christ has, it's never about our ability to get it right or be the best disciple. In the end, it's always about God's never-ending love for us. It's about God's unceasing ability to forgive again and again and again. It's the story of the prodigal son over and over and over. Someone wise once said that the spiritual life is this game of lost and found, and lost and found, and lost and over and over. Jesus asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" And so this is actually one of those places that Bible geeks and scholars will kind of dig in, and that's great. I imagine there is wisdom kind of from a deep dive around this 3-fold repetition and what that means. But I see at a minimum is that there is this pattern. There is a balance of sin and redemption. Sin and redemption. There's this pattern of turning your back on Christ and then being forgiven by Christ. The cycle is on repeat. How many times does Christ forgive? As many as we screw up. We are all Peter. At some point, we have all gone wrong. We have all done things that we wish we could take back. We've all denied and turned our backs on the ones that we love. We've all beaten ourselves up and questioned our own self-worth. And like Peter, we have all been forgiven by our God. Jesus says, "Follow me." And that road that we follow Jesus on, that road to glory and that road to heaven, is never straight. It's always a crooked and twisted and interwoven path where we come face to face with our own failings, our own inability to get it right, so that we discover again and again and again the love and the mercy of God. It's like I wish I could tell you as your priest, I wish I could tell you that at some point in your life it's possible never to fall again. I wish I could tell you at some point you can achieve a holiness where you won't circle back to the old way of fishing. But if we follow Christ, and if we follow the example of St. Peter, we will fall short. We just do. Again and again. We'll deny Christ. We'll treat each other badly. We'll lose our courage to stand up for what's right, for justice. It's like the Paschal mystery is that Christ light inside us is always dying. And then it's always coming to new and different and expanded life. Over and over. And nobody gets that better than St. Peter. I think that's why he's the one at the pearly gate, right? Because he understands us. So I want to close with a story. It's one of my favorites. I've probably told some of you this before. You're going to hear it again. Once there was this great monastery. It's a monastery. It was high on a hill. And it was overlooking this village in France. Beautiful, small, quaint village. But the monastery, it was separate, right? It was self-reliant, self-sufficient. And so the monks rarely, if ever, came down into town. And so in the village down there was a boy and a girl who grew up together. They were next door neighbors, they're friends. They went to church together. They went to school together. But after their schooling, the boy felt a call to go enter the monastic life. So he entered the monastery. And they never saw each other again. Until one day, when the woman was very old. She was walking a path near the monastery, and then suddenly there he was. And so they talked a while about their lives, and then just as they were about to leave, go their separate ways, she said, "There's something I've always wanted to ask. What do you monks do up there in the monastery, living so close to God?" And the old man smiled and he said, we fall down, we get up. We fall down, we get up. We fall down, we get up. Amen.